Our next guest is Joseph Gloria, the Registrar of Voters for Clark County. Mr. Gloria and his staff oversee all the functions of elections, from compiling eligible candidates, to printing the ballots, and of course to tabulating the people's vote. This election season is unique. For the first time ever, the primary will be conducted as an all-mail ballot election. Joe, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Here we are a month and a day, I believe, before the June 9th primary election. And first of all, most every voter should have received this general information packet by now. A lot of good information on there.
That is correct. We did send that out to all voters who are going to be eligible to vote in this election. So hopefully they've reviewed that information. There's some key information that's critical to all voters there. Number one being update and make sure that all of your voter information is correct in the system right now, or as soon as possible.
How do you do that? There are many ways that a person can register to vote or check their registration. Talk to me about that.
There's several easy ways to go about doing that. Number one, you can go on our website and get onto our Registered Voter Services line, or go to online registration, which takes you to the Secretary of State's location to register to vote as long as you have a Nevada ID. Also, always available to voters, call our department, 702-455-VOTE. We have staff that's available and prepared to help you with either updating your registration or getting a new registration into the system.
Obviously, maybe we're burying the lead here because this is, for the first time ever in Nevada, an all-mail-in ballot election. What does that mean, Joe?
Well, what that means is that every single voter, including inactive voters in this case, will be receiving a mail ballot in the mail with the address that they provided to us in their registration. Those ballots have gone out, and in actuality, in the next 5 to 6 days, all voters who are in the system and actively registered or inactive have received their ballot.
And obviously this isn't new. I know a state for Oregon, for example, they've been doing this for over 2 decades, and a handful of other states are already doing this type of procedure.
That's correct. It's been successful in many states. Of course, in Nevada, we're very proud of our in-person voting process. And so mail ballot has been successful in states like Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. So we're confident that we can mirror what they've done in those states for this one-time election. But we have no intention of permanently moving to all mail ballot elections at this time. And of course, that would be a decision for the state legislature to do.
A recent Oregon Secretary of State said you can't hack paper. So obviously the integrity of the election process is always paramount, and this is probably even making it even more secure in a lot of ways?
Well, there are pros and cons with both types of voting, but we're very confident in the process for mail ballot voting. We have several steps in place to, number one, verify the identity of the voter and make sure that the ballots that are sent in are being sent in by that voter. We also have many steps for voters to ensure that if they make a mistake, for instance, by not signing the envelope, which is very important because that's one of the steps that we use to verify the identity of the voter. We're now statutorily required to contact the voter, and that's why we're encouraging voters, if you do not have your email address or phone number on your voter registration record, we encourage you to contact our office or go to the online voter registration and add that information, because that'll give us the ability to quickly contact you and let you know that you didn't sign your ballot, and we have steps in place for them to correct that so that we can count their ballot for the election.
You said there's even actually 4 different checks and balances on that, the final one coming to your physical eyeballs to match up signatures. Tell me about the 4.
That's exactly right. And since we went to an all-mail ballot election, and with help from the federal government and the Secretary of State, we've made purchase of a vote mail processing system. And with that system, we have software where they actually check the voter registration signature on file with what's on the envelope. So a large percentage of the ballots that we receive will automatically, through computer, be verified as far as the signature match. Anything after that will have to be manually checked, but as you mentioned, there are 3 steps after that computer check that are required for us to make sure that we agree that the signature does not match. But ultimately, it's my decision. There's no ballot that comes through the election department that gets rejected for a bad signature without going by my desk and my personal review.
And Joe, even though we're calling this an all-mail-in ballot election, and you're certainly strongly encouraging everyone to do just that, there actually will be 3 polling places on June 9th.
That's correct, Election Day. And there will also be a 14-day period what voters here in Clark County are used to with the early voting period, where we'll be voting here at the election center and allowing people to come in and same-day register. We'll allow ADA voters to come in and unassisted vote on a computer so that they can cast their ballot independently. And also, we're not encouraging this, but voters could come in for a replacement ballot. What we strongly encourage voters to do is, if they have an issue with their ballot, to contact our office, because we have several means of providing an additional ballot to them. One is, again, through the U.S. mail, or we've also got measures to use electronic ballots to send to voters locally, so that they wouldn't have to leave their house and expose themselves to large groups. And we're hoping voters will take advantage of that.
And obviously, like you say, you're making this as simple as possible. It's a self-addressed stamped envelope. There's postage on there. Couldn't be easier.
Postage paid, that's important. No voter will have to put a stamp on their return envelope. So vote the ballot. If you have any questions, there's a set of instructions with every ballot that goes out, but certainly call our office, 702-455-VOTE. We have staff available to answer any questions that you may have. So vote the ballot, put it in the envelope. We strongly encourage you to put it in the mail because the postage is paid. We also have several drop-off locations that are in the flyer that we sent out to all voters and also on our website.
Tell me about those voter drop-off ballot locations. Some people probably are physically maybe want to feel that they're giving it to someone in your department as opposed to trusting the U.S. Postal Service.
Sure, that's fine. We have 30 sites that we're going to be providing on Election Day, but prior to that, we have sites at all of the city clerks in Clark County, to include Mesquite, and within the urban area, Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Boulder City. The only thing that we caution voters, with coronavirus still a big issue in the community, and with the Governor Sisolak giving orders for phase 1, some municipalities have not opened for business yet. And so we update our schedule, and that is on our website. Right now, all cities, minus the city of Las Vegas, will be offering the mail drop-off hours that we have advertised in the flyer that we sent to voters, and is also available on our website.
How about disabled voters, Joe? I know you're trying to make it as simple as possible for everybody, including that segment of the voting population.
Exactly. They are entitled to vote independently on a ballot and make their decisions without assistance. So at the 3 sites that we're providing for the 14 days and the 3 sites on Election Day, they will have the ability to come in and vote a ballot unassisted on one of the computer systems that we have set up. Also, with help from the Secretary of State and their EASE program, they can go and request an electronic ballot that'll be delivered to them, where they can vote at home through the EASE system. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they still have the ability to vote independently.
How is this changing your life and your staff's life? People are taking a break right now, but this place is a beehive of activity and will continue to be so from June until June 9th, and actually a little after that. We'll get to that later. But how has this changed the process for you, your employees, and staff here?
It's been a tremendous challenge, and I have to compliment my staff. They have adjusted very well. There was a tremendous amount of work in the planning that was necessary for increasing the staff that we're going to need to process, accept ballots, get them counted. We sent out 1.3 million ballots. Normally we would send somewhere from 80 to 85,000 ballots in a big general election, such as the presidential election. So this is a huge increase. We've had to adjust our processes. Our mail ballot staff has had to adjust to the volume that we're expecting to receive, but they've done excellent work. I'm very confident that we'll be able to accept all of these ballots from the U.S. Post Office and through our drop-off sites and get them processed in time. Of course, voters should also be aware, and it's in the informational flyer, as long as your mail ballot return is postmarked by Election Day at June 9th, we will be able to receive that up to 7 days later and still process that ballot to be counted.
We've talked about your employees and staff here. One of the hallmarks of Nevada elections have been a major effort from volunteers. Tell me, are volunteers involved in the primary election at this point, Joe?
Certainly. Not as many as we would normally need to support our early voting and Election Day activities, but we're still going to have 200 or 300 people here working every day once we start to receive the bulk of our mail ballots through the mail and through our drop-off sites to process those ballots, verify the signatures, run it through our mail sorting computer, and get them ready to be counted, which won't take place until 4 or 5 days before Election Day. when statute allows us to start reading those ballots into the system.
Let's go to election night on June 9th. What will the activity look like here? We've been here many times, and there's usually a beehive of activity from people bringing ballot boxes from Mesquite to Laughlin, dropping them off in your back doors here, and securing votes. What will it look like on June 9th this year?
It will still be, there'll still be a lot of activity going on here in the warehouse. What you won't see is 172 locations and team leaders driving up to the back here to drop off cartridges, because we aren't using any voting machines for this voting process. So we'll be processing mail throughout Election Day, and then in the evening, that's when a lot of the activity will increase, because we have 30 drop-off sites that we need to get staffed to make sure we get all of those back here into the election warehouse, that it's properly secured, so that the next morning we can come in and begin to empty out those mail ballot drop-offs and get them processed so that we can get them counted according to what those voters that dropped off at our mail drop-off locations. So what will be different on election night is our unofficial total that we release that night is definitely going to change substantially. Because as I mentioned, voters can send their ballot through the mail, postmarked by Election Day, and we have up until 7 days after to receive those ballots and still count them into the official total. So we really won't be finished with totals until a week after the election. And the canvass period has also increased. So it's 10 days after the election. We won't have official results presented to the Clark County Commission until the Friday after that last day to turn in mail ballots.
So that really does change the dynamics for candidates, one way or the other, for voters and election junkies like me. That election night is usually a fun night where you see things come on, and you usually is a clear-cut winner by the end of the night. Not so this year.
That won't necessarily be the case. Now, there will be some races that are decided by a wide margin, and so we can pretty accurately predict, according to the number of provisional ballots that we've received, whether or not those ballots would impact that election. But we can't predict how many people will drop their ballot in the mail on Election Day, and that we'll have 7 days to receive. So definitely nothing's ever final on election night, but now with this process, it'll be even slower before we can give numbers that people would be able to make any kind of generality as to whether or not the election is over.
I know you don't like to give predictions, but tell me about the numbers of what was the turnout during the last primary election and during the last primary election in 2016.
Dating back to 2008, actually, in the presidential primaries, we haven't had more than 16% turnout total. That's unfortunate. Obviously, we prepare and try to get as many voters out with the access that we provide to participate in the election, because all elections are important. But we've made plans to make sure that we can handle an increase in that volume. So we actually planned for a 35% turnout, which is well above what we normally receive. And so I can't make any predictions as to whether or not it'll be larger than any of the past presidential primaries in the past, but we're prepared either way.
It's a very fluid time in our life, and we're 6 months away from the November 3rd general election. Do you think we will be in the same situation as far as an all-mail ballot election come November?
That's very hard to predict. The governor has been very informative, and I think he's done a good job of controlling the general public and getting out into the general public and protecting us all against the spread of coronavirus. Obviously, we've entered into phase 1. We'll see what the increases are, and hopefully there are not, because I know that we'd all like to see things flatline and this go away. But it'll all depend on whether or not numbers continue to go up or they flatline. And so what I can tell you is that by the month of July, I should say, we're going to need to make some decisions on whether we're looking to do the same type of voting for the general, or if we're going to go on, which is what we're hoping for, to the regular type of voting in person with the early voting access at over 33 locations for 14 days, and then the 172 vote centers that we were planning to provide for Election Day. So I can't make that prediction, but we're prepared either way.
Thank you very much for your great information as always, Joe, and I'll let you get back to work. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
To learn how Clark County can support you or your business during the COVID pandemic, or for more information on any Clark County department or service, visit clarkcountynv.gov. Thanks for tuning into Clark County Television. I'm Randy Swallow.